grass farmers, right? The more grass that we produce, the more animals we can hold. The cows are just a vehicle to eat the grass. So we rotationally graze, and that allows the grass to regrow quickly. The typical paddock is probably about anywhere from a quarter acre, maybe less than that, an eighth of an acre, all the way up to 2-3 acres, depending on the season. Like in the summer, I've got paddocks that are 2-3 acres because I have to provide shade. And so I'm limited. It's the shade that limits what I can do in the summer. But now that it's cooler, we'll shrink those down. Regardless of the paddock size, I shoot for a 50-50. I want them to eat 50, leave 50. And well, it just depends on the year. And at the beginning of spring, I had paddocks that were, well, let's say there's 5 acres over there. I split it into 2, and on March 15th, they had access to half of that for 1 day, because there was just enough grass to take them off hay and put them on grass. And they covered, in 15 days, they covered this entire farm, because I only let them in a spot for a day, because because I was out of hay and there was just enough grass. And you don't want to eat it down to the ground. So yeah, the goal is 50%. I would say each paddock that we use gets at least 45 days rest, probably more. We've got 45 head and probably about 80 acres in pasture. I want to spend the least amount of money for the most amount of gain. And there's a publication that I highly recommend called the Stockman Grass Farmer. And I read a number of articles in there. These guys are up in Canada, and they bale graze. And well, if they can bale graze in Canada, I can do it here. When you bale graze, you can see where the Johnson grass is. That's where the bales were last year. That's approximately the spacing. I have the hay delivered, I have to unload it. I set it down, I pick it up one more time, I move it, and I set it down. I leave the twine on it or the netting. I'll start the cows out close to the water in a small paddock, and they've got access to 2 or 3 bales. They eat that, and then I open up another paddock. Well, I'm expanding the paddock that they're in, just giving them access to 2 or 3 more bales, so they can go back to the water and they have access to the hay. I've got the manure, the fertilizer, spread across the entire upper tier, so I don't have to spread it, and I don't have to worry about it piling up anywhere. And I didn't have to get on the tractor in the winter. I had to walk out here and move polywire, but that's not bad. And then the residual, one of the concerns is, well, but you're going to lose 15%. You might lose 20% on a bale. That's true. But I didn't really lose 15 to 20% because whatever was left is adding soil. I mean, and you can see the result. I mean, look how much more forage is where those bales were. And you can see it when you stick a shovel in the ground. where the bale was last year, you're going to see worms as opposed to where that bale wasn't. Because they cropped a little bit up here and they used it for hay. So there's not a whole lot of topsoil where we're standing right now, probably ½ inch, if that. But it's coming back. The seeds are already in the ground. They just need, they need the right conditions to germinate. So unless I'm trying to add something that's probably not there, I'm not going to seed. Fertilizer. I don't know if I'm going to get my dollars. You know, if I put $1 in, I don't know if I'm going to get $1 out. From what I'm seeing, I don't need to spend that money. And I don't know a whole lot about soil health, but I believe that clay is mineral rich. It just needs more water. And the soil needs to build so that the roots can access those minerals. That's another reason that I like the concept of bale grazing. Or maybe not so much that, but you know, how do you decide, well, should I use this for hay ground or should I put animals on it? And the dollars tell me you put animals on it. And if you hay the ground, if I hay this, I'm pulling nutrition out of the ground and then I'm feeding it somewhere else on my farm. So that's let's say a neutral transaction. But if I get hay from somebody else and bring it onto the property, then I'm bringing nutrients onto the farm. So that was kind of an easy decision to make, whether or not to hay. And then the cost. But I can buy a bale for ballpark $40. Can I produce one for 40? And I'm not seeing where that's possible. I didn't have any idea that there was public money available to help me do anything. I wasn't looking for it. I was looking for advice. So that's why I got in touch with NRCS, and that's how I met Daniel Horn. So then he let me know that there was CRP and a couple other agencies that would actually provide money to help get me started. And that included the watering, the fencing out the creek. So it was I wouldn't be where I'm at right now because I'd still be building fence. So that was phenomenal, having that assistance. And I was happy with the entire process. Daniel was very helpful. There's a CSP program that we're involved with, and it entails keeping track of the rotational grazing. So it's helping me as a rotational grazer, just being part of this program, because I'm forced to write it down. And it's extremely easy. I found that I use Google Earth, and I put a pin with a date of where the cows are. And then at the end of the year, I print that sheet out, I bring it into the NRCS office, and that's my documentation. Well, as far as the watering system goes, we have 2 permanent tanks, and they're primarily used during the winter, which works out great because they're frost-free. And then throughout the rest of the farm, there's probably 35 to 40 quick connects, and they're great. It gives me the flexibility, regardless of the herd numbers or paddock size, to provide water where I need it. Would I do it differently today? Yes, because I've got more knowledge of of the farm and just experience with the herd, I would probably put them in different spots. But the system that we have, it really works well. I can get water to anywhere quickly.